sin? Was it God's plan ultimately that there be a creature called Satan who would turn to evil and corrupt and cause the human race to fall? Yes, obviously. We have to say that. If you're not comfortable with saying that, I could say, well, do you believe God knew that was going to happen? Did God know from eternity that there would be an angel who would corrupt himself, who would tempt and cause other angels to fall and eventually cause the human race to fall? And I think if you're a theist at that point, you have to say yes, because God knows all. And if God knew that was going to happen and he made those creatures anyway, then obviously God did more than just permit it. It was part of his plan ultimately, but not for any evil purpose. For good, entirely for good. Think of Judas when he does what is evil, yet he was part of God's plan. Did God force him to do anything? No. But did God use what he did to save the world? Absolutely. Remember in the book of Genesis at the end, some of you younger children may still be alive when we get there. But remember when Joseph's brothers come and they see him and they're afraid he's going to kill them because of all the evil they did to him. Joseph said, "Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it." Meant it, the same evil, for good. God is sovereign over evil, brothers and sisters. God permits, ordains, orders, appoints, but he does not create or author anything evil. And it's because the presence of evil in a temporal, finite way is ultimately more for our good and more for our glory and glorification and more for God's glory than if it did not exist. That's the only reason that it would be there. God would never have appointed evil to do the things that it does, except that he would bring us more good through it, show us himself and his power more through it. Remember Romans 8:28. Hold on to the principles when you think of things like this. God causes all things to work for good. All things. My sins work for good in my life. I can see that in my conversion. I was converted through my own partying and drinking lifestyle and through the death of one of my best friends. God converted me through that. If I could take that back, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I can also say that God actually used those sinful things to bring me to him, to bring the conviction finally home to me that I could not live in sin anymore. That's what it took for me. I wish it took a lot less. People say, well, I hate it when people say, I would never change anything in my life. I understand what they mean. But I would change a lot of things in my life. I would change things today that I did today that I wish I would have done better. Obviously, right? But God uses it for good. That's our hope, right? God used Judas for good. Judas did evil. God used Joseph's brothers for good. Joseph's brothers did evil. And by manifesting his power over evil, we know we can trust him in anything. In anything. It's not just God causes his friends and his servants to do his will. He causes his enemies to do his will. Satan is nothing more than an instrument in the hand of God to bring him more glory. And he will. And he does. As we triumph over him in Christ, we pathetic creatures of dust, we trample this glorious, heavenly, angelic being under our feet daily. And that shows the power of God more than if there would have been no fall.